Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Future of the World. I'm Mr. Roadmap, and last episode, quite a few things happened, um, such as Russia invading Belarus. Yeah, uh, Russia invaded Belarus last episode. It didn't go well for Belarus. Belarus, well, is now Russia. But yeah, China geared up to invade Taiwan over here, this little island. Um, yeah, and then over here, the U.S. invaded Mexico. It got quite far down, but then the midterms was suspended by Trump, which led to like basically a little revolution. Yeah, so yeah, that's what happened last episode. If you haven't seen this last episode, go see it now. We're first starting off in America. It's currently like late December of 2026. Armistice between America and Mexico has been signed, and it has been like in effect since like the little revolution earlier. But yeah, even though an armistice has been signed and the war is like kind of over, American troops still occupy Baja and like a 50-mile zone from the border of I guess the U.S. But U.S. troops are still in Mexican land. So yeah, but yeah, over here in DC, last episode midterms were suspended, and then everyone revolted, and then midterms were uh, instated. So yeah, and then Congress became three-fourths Democrats, and they started an impeachment process against Trump. And this episode, it succeeds. He's out of office. His entire cabinet is out of office. Congress is currently in control of the country. Um, they have decided that the next election for president will be held on February 4th of 2027, which is only like 2 months away. So yeah, very little time for anyone to get their candidates in order. But yeah, the two candidates that do, I guess, or yeah, the two candidates that are chosen for the Democrats, they choose Pete Buttigieg, who is like I think the former mayor of New York or something. I don't know. I think he's from New York. And then for the Republicans, there's Governor Ron DeSantis um, of Florida. So yeah, those are the two people who run for president in 2027. And election day happens. It's February now, and Pete wins by like a large margin. Like I think it's like 80%. He gets like 80% of the votes. Um, and like absolutely get and like has a landslide election. With like a lot of like with most of the states voting for him. Texas still voted red, and along with like most of the South, except for like Georgia. But yeah, a lot of states flipped, or states that had voted previously blue in 2020 but not in 2024 were blue again, and then a few other states had flipped, such as like the Midwest. All the Midwest was blue. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, after this devastating loss by the Republican Party, the party kind of collapses. Um, they're unable to like hold or like do anything in Congress, and they just proved that no one else couldn't really run. So yeah, Republican Party collapses completely. Um, which is kind of a problem in a country where there's only two major voting parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. So what President Buttigieg does, he's like, hey, what if we do like the Europeans do? What if, these guys over here, these smelly guys? What if we had ranked choice voting in the United States? And he pitches it to Congress and it's like, hey, what if we had ranked choice voting? And Congress is like, you know what? Sure, why not? And so what ranked choice voting is like, or what ranked choice voting is it's like there's a bunch of people who like run like in an election, let's say for like president or like Congress. There's like many people who can run. It's not just like Republican or Democrat. And like I'm American, not European. So this is like kind of what I think is right. If it's not, correct me in the comments. But yeah, so basically, there's a bunch of parties, different parties, and like the one with the most votes, it doesn't have to be like there's not like a set amount of votes. It's just like the guy with the most votes. But yeah, the guy with the majority wins, and then I think the guy with the second amount, I think he, I don't know, I don't really know, but yeah, I think ranked choice voting it just allows for like more parties to exist. Like it's not just two party system, which is cool. I wish we had that now, but whatever. But yeah, moving on from America. Actually, no, not we're not done with America yet. After Pete wins the election, Europe is like, hey, NATO's like, hey, you want to join? Hey, buddy, you want to join the NATO again? And the US is like, we're kind of going through some stuff right now. Check back in on us in like 5 years. And NATO's like, okay. They wanted, the US to join back in like immediately, because, these guys, Russia, they're not doing too many good things right now. Um, One of those not too good things is going to be invading Georgia, uh, and not the state Georgia. They don't magically get an entire fleet across the Atlantic Ocean and then somehow get through America's like the Navy and then land troops in Georgia and like, ooh, 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 yeah, let's invade the United States. Smartest decision ever. Yeah, no, they don't do that. Um, they instead invade the country of Georgia. These guys, yeah. So I think they already kind of like occupy a bit of Georgia, like here and I think like here. I think I'm a bit rusty on like the Georgian conflict, but the last I remember, this is kind of what was going on. But yeah. So, anyways, Russia is like, we want more land, and you know where we're already kind of at war with. We're kind of already at war with Georgia, so let's just invade Georgia more. So yeah, then they invade Georgia more, and Georgia is really unhappy with this. They don't like this. You know who also is unhappy with this? Yeah, the rest of NATO. NATO is unhappy with this. Um, and what NATO decides to do is this say, hey, Turkey, we don't like Russia. You don't like Russia, right? And Turkey's like, yeah, we're not too big of a friends with them. And the rest of NATO's like, okay, good. Can you send some troops into Georgia, just to counteract Russian troops? And Turkey's like, okay, well, whatever. So yeah, Turkey and NATO sends like a bunch of like peacekeeping forces into Georgia, and what they're gonna do basically is like take as much land as possible, to so the Russians don't take that land. And but yeah, this really pisses off Russia. They're like, "What the fuck, bro? Why are you doing this?" And NATO is like, "Yeah, get wrecked, nerd. You want to come after us, huh? 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 We're not sissies like Ukraine and Belarus, huh? We've got nukes, brother. We have an entire continent. We're an entire continent armed to the teeth, with high tech weaponry. What you gonna do, bro? What you gonna do, huh? 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 And Russia's like, "Grr." All they really can do is send more, like kind of like blitz into Georgia. So yeah, they send a bunch of troops into Georgia and get as much land as they can before like Turkish troops get more land, and they meet up on with the Turkish troops, and the two side or like Turkey or NATO and Russia sits down to divide up Georgia, and we'll see how that happens. Okay, so this is how Georgia is divided up. Russia is going to get this northern bit of Georgia. Yeah, they get this little area of Georgia. This Georgia is going to be a NATO occupied zone, or like NATO Georgia, where Georgia is going to be given um, a NATO membership, uh, so they aren't like really attacked again by Russia. So yeah, they're given NATO membership, which kind of pisses Russia off, but in exchange for Georgia being a part of NATO, there's this little buffer state that's like kind of controlled by Russia, which yeah, uh, which basically is just or it acts like a buffer state between NATO and Russia, because Russia doesn't really want to have another border with NATO. But yeah, Georgia is now part of NATO, even though like half their country is gone. But yeah, now to the most important part of this video. This is like gonna be the most important part of this entire series, even. I'm not sure if you know this, but there is this island in the Pacific area, in the Southeast Pacific, called Bougainville, and currently right now in 2025, it is owned by Papua New Guinea. But in 2027, which the current year in this timeline right now, um, it will be getting its independence, which means Bougainville is now independent from Papua New Guinea, which is like this is like so groundbreaking to this entire series. This is a canon event to this series. This will completely change the director or the direction of this entire series. Like you guys have no idea how important this is to this series. But yeah, now we'll move on to somewhere else. Um, because we gotta keep the series going. We can't just focus on Bougainville, even if it's the most important part of the series. Other than that amazing news, that happened in 2027. This little war was from this little war was from July 2027 to December 2027 ish. Actually, no, that lasted like roughly a year, so that ended in like 2028 ish. But yeah, still, while we're in 2027, we have something important happening in Africa. A union is going to be created. This is going to be called, well, it's not a union. It's basically just like a defensive pact. It's going to be called the East African Union. Um, it, and not while it's not currently like a union between countries, it's more like just like an alliance. Maybe later in the series, an East African Union will form. But yeah, in this alliance, there will be Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, I think that's Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, and finally Madagascar. So yeah, this is the East African Alliance. It's quite a big alliance. It's basically the entire East African coast. But yeah, these guys, I think IRL they're like really close. Well, if not like these southern guys, I think like these guys over here are really close. If not, you fact check me on that actually. But yeah, these guys they form an alliance, East African Union, not really a union. It's more of an alliance. But yeah, that happens over there, and then over here in Somalia, there's going to be two new countries that are created. And it's going to be there's so in Somalia in real life is barely as can barely even be called a country. It's basically just like a zone that no one really wants to live in. But yeah, but in this little region of Somalia, there's this kind of like functioning country called Somaliland, which is trying to become independent IRL. I think they have like passports and like a functioning government compared to like the rest of Somalia. But yeah, so it's currently June 2028, and Somaliland it finally makes or gets independence. It finally becomes its own country. Multiple countries across the globe finally recognize Somalia or no, sorry, Somaliland as a proper country. But yeah, this is big for for the Somali area. It's kind of hard to say. Because yeah, now there's actually like some stability in the region. But yeah, I also read somewhere maybe don't trust me on this. But there's also like this little area called Puntland. I think is also vying for independence from Somalia. It's basically like right next to Somaliland. I don't know if there's actually any like independence movement IRL, but since this is my series, there is an independence movement and they see the success of Somaliland, and they decide to break away from Somalia and form Puntland. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure like how realistic this is, but once again, um, this is the series where the United States broke into civil war and invaded Mexico. India and Pakistan fought each other, and Russia is currently on its imperialist arc. So, and Bougainville, of course, is the most powerful country of all now. But yeah, that's currently the series we're in, so I would take this with a huge, huge, huge grain of salt. But yeah, so there's two new countries in Africa now, a whole new alliance thing, and I think that's gonna do it for today's episode. If you like today's episode, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we might be able to do it. But yeah, um, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.